All right, cool. And we're set. So, first of all, like I already mentioned, thank you very much for coming in today. I really appreciate it. Usually I do these by myself. I'm glad that we had some good interaction here. We're talking about the current virus, the COVID-19 or coronavirus coming through, and kind of what we're doing here and how we're doing overall. Sounds like so far, even if we're having a rough week, we're faring. We're doing pretty good overall. So that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that everyone's staying healthy. So again, new technology here. We're going to try to work it a different way. Doing a quick time recording of this, and we're going to try to share the screen and go from there. So I'm going to pop back and forth, and once I can share the screen, then I'm going to stop sharing the whiteboard because we don't need that anymore. But we do need to share my screen. All right, and we're going to pull up the chat box, and hopefully that'll stay as it is. And we are going to do. You guys like how I talk to myself? I'm not crazy. Honest. All right. Sweet. So the chat box even stays in place. So that's fantastic. It's like things are going my way. All right. So how the heart works. We're going to go over, the heart anatomy, function, staying healthy. Again, it would have been awesome if this was like, about the lungs, and we could have talked about that. We could have pulled in COVID-19, but I mean, honestly, when I made this thing a couple months back, like 2 months ago, I didn't even hear of COVID-19 yet. So it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, body systems, and I guess I chose the wrong body system for this one anyway. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and move through here, how the heart works. Keep it simple, kind of keep it light, kind of just, back and forth, ask some questions. We got some cool check-in points to work through down the road in the lesson here, and we're going to try not to hang out forever here and get you guys back to whatever it is that you've been doing today. So with that, let's get started here. So how the heart works. So we know where the heart sits, and we know kind of like what it sounds like or what it feels like is in terms of a pulse. Okay, has anyone ever not felt their pulse before, or does everybody pretty much know what their pulse feels like? Yeah. Okay. Good. How about you, Shatasia? All right, cool. So most know what the pulse feels like. I mean, it's like this bump 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 or a lub dub sound. Okay, is what happens there, and that's important to note as we go through the lesson. Kind of what it feels like, what's happening there, things like that. And what happens is when we hook ourselves up to a monitor. Well, you're not hooking yourself up to, but if a nurse or a doctor hooks us up to a monitor, it puts off this little graph here, and it's basically just the contractions that are happening with the heart, the electrical impulses that are happening with the heart. All right. So if we go into the heart, and we have objectives here. We're looking for you guys to understand or recite the process of blood flow, and demonstrate your knowledge of anatomy. Okay. As far as the 7 out of 10 times or the every time, let's just go with it. Let's see what happens. Okay. I'm not going to worry about that too much. The standards there, you can see the standards there. So let me move this thing out of the way. Standards there. Of 9th and 12th grade standards, which is pretty well standard for a lesson to be had here. So put that back in the corner over here, and let's keep rolling on. Get that stuff out of the way. All right. Location, endurance, and anatomy. Let me see if I can make this part smaller without. All right. It's just going to stay right where it is. That's fine. I'll move that thing around if it gets in the way. So location, let's go there. So a lot of people think that the heart sits right in the middle of the chest, and that's not technically true. It actually sits on an angle. It does sit more on the left side of your chest just because of that angle, but it sits in the center to left. Really, kind of sits on a little bit of a slant with the bottom of the ventricles right here, kind of kicking out towards the side. The slant that I'm showing here probably isn't really accurate, but I looked at a picture of anatomy versus what I did, and it's about as close as I could get it. It's not like I have a micrometer and I made this exactly specific here, but it is what it is. So you have the aorta sticking out the top, and then you have other branches of arteries coming off of here as well. All right. So you have pulmonary arteries here, pulmonary veins here, and so we'll get into the inside of the anatomy in a second. So a pretty simple but pretty complicated system, and it's amazing to see what this thing can actually do on a daily basis. All right, if we go into endurance, here's where things get really cool. All right, so you guys have already said you felt your pulse, so you know that it's beating, and it depends on what you're doing as far as how fast it beats. All right, but it's beating 24/7. The thing just doesn't stop, obviously, because it is responsible for keeping us alive. But it circulates blood throughout the body continuously, every single day, every minute, whatever. So check this out. Think about this for a second. It's one of those things that we take for granted. You know, like breathing, it just happens. Blinking, it just happens. But if you think about the heart at rest, for an adult, average is around 70 beats per minute. Some might be 72 beats per minute. Some might be a little bit more or a little less, depending on their activity levels, conditions, things like that. But let's go with 70. 70 beats per minute times 60 minutes, right? 60 minutes in an hour is 4,200 beats per hour. 4,200 beats in an hour at 24 hours in a day. That thing beats over 100,000 times per day. You know, think about like if you were to try to do, how about this? Think about if you were to try to do 70 push-ups. Could you do 70 push-ups? I'm waiting for someone to say yes. Like all in one shot. Diara's got it. I don't even know if I could, to be honest with you. Maybe back in the day when I was training all the time I could. No problem, just, you know, do them real quick. But anymore, no way. So 70 push-ups in a minute, or 70 push-ups overall would be difficult. This thing beats 70 times per minute, 4,200 beats in an hour, and over 100,000 times per day. And if you look at the year, you've got over 36 million beats per year. That's crazy. 360 million in 10 years, you know, so it's like it really kind of shows you how much this thing works, how much your heart works. This thing, it's called a heart, all right, how much this heart works. So it is a total powerhouse for sure in terms of endurance. All right, if we look at the anatomy, let's get on the inside of this thing here real quick. Let me move the chat box over just a wee bit here so we can see things all the way. You have different things, okay? Different things here with the heart. You have this superior inferior vena cava. So here's your superior, here's your inferior, right? So blood from the bottom of your body, you could think of it like that, from below the heart, comes up this way and wraps around the back side of the heart. Blood from up top, or from the things up top or above the heart, they come down through the superior vena cava. Superior meaning above, inferior meaning below. Vena cava is just fancy for veins. And they all converge at the back side of the heart, back top, really. And they dump into right around this area, okay? We'll get into the inside in just a second here. This big red piece here is called the aorta. That is your main artery coming out of the heart. So anything happens here, we're in trouble. All right, then you have these three arteries here, brachial arteries, carotid arteries. Again, anything happens there, you've got blood flow to your limbs, you've got blood flow to your brain. Again, anything happens there, we're in trouble. So not a good spot for something to happen. But note that it's extremely important, and the cool thing about the aorta is that it's actually elastic. Okay, so as blood comes in here, it expands a bit, and as blood leaves, it kind of contracts a bit. So it kind of helps add pressure and get that blood flowing to your toes, right? Then you've got pulmonary veins. The arteries aren't shown on this one, but that's okay. Pulmonary veins. This is what brings blood from your lungs, pulmonary lungs, from your lungs back into your heart. Which, you know, these things are there's many different pathways here. You have lungs on both sides of your body. The heart has to push blood that doesn't have enough oxygen in it to your lungs to get oxygen, okay? And it does so through these things. So it comes out in two directions, right and left, and then it branches from there to go into your lungs, or once it's in your lungs, all right? And then extremely important areas here, which is all about coronary artery disease, or I should say are these two arteries. You see one here, whoops, You see one right here, and then you see one over here. Okay, and they supply oxygenated blood and nutrients to the heart. Now the heart is made up of smooth muscle, so that way it can beat continuously without tiring. It's unlike the muscles in the rest of your body. The muscles in the rest of your body have striations, or like they kind of look like ribs, kind of. You could think of it that way. Lines. Okay. Did you guys know that already? Did you know that your heart was made up of smooth muscle versus the other muscles in your body? Yeah, so it's a little bit different. Cool, Vashti knew that. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. The other area of your body that is made up of smooth muscle would be your intestines. Gross, but true. Um, so again, it's the heart is set up a little bit differently than the rest of your body. So like if you were doing those 70 push-ups with your other muscles, they're going to tire. You're going to feel a burning. That burning is called lactic acid, and that's going to cause severe fatigue, possible cramping. Well, those things can't happen with the heart. If it cramps, then it stops, right? The heart can't stop. So it has to be smooth muscle to allow for that continuous movement there. Let's roll on here. So here's what the carotid artery looks like, kind of on the or what an artery looks like on the inside, or a blood vessel really. And thinking in terms of this carotid artery, the thing that supplies blood and nutrients to the heart. All right, you've got something that looks like a normal artery right in here. All right, which is nice. You think of it like the inside of a hose. Okay, it's free, it's flowing, no issues. Water comes out real strong. Same thing here. Blood flows through, real strong, no problem. All right. Then let's say you like junk food, pizza. I likes me my donuts. So all those things are not good. They got saturated fat in them and a bunch of other things. Okay. If you're eating food and it's dripping with grease, I mean, first of all, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that means it's delicious." I mean, okay, I can go with that. All right. How many of you like pizza? Yeah, diarrhea. I'll tell you what. If you put pizza in front of me, get out of my way, because I'm probably going to eat the entire thing. I've been known to eat a whole large pizza myself and then hit the cupboards after that. So I can do some damage. Speaking of damage, though, I love pepperoni. I don't know what it is. Anybody a pepperoni fan? Diara, did we just become best friends? I think so. All right, so all of us, yeah, exactly. Um, so I like growing up, my father would always get extra sauce, extra cheese, extra pepperoni. It was a mess, but it was delicious. And the one thing is, when you see that orange grease drip off of a pepperoni pizza, a slice of pepperoni pizza, that is full of saturated fat, full of cholesterol, full of sodium. Like all that stuff is terrible for you. Granted, it probably means that it tastes good, at least in the instance of pepperoni pizza. But that saturated fat, that trans fat, that cholesterol, it sits in your bloodstream, okay? And it develops this stuff on the inside of your arteries called plaque. And what happens is the vessel goes from looking nice and clean like this to, over time, it's not going to be overnight or anything like that. If it was overnight, I'd be in trouble. But over time, it begins to form against the wall of the artery. And it's sticky, it's gross, right? And what happens is, over time, it can start to take away the elasticity of that artery. So that artery has to flex. When it can't flex, now all of a sudden your blood pressure starts to decrease. Well, I shouldn't say that. Your blood pressure does not decrease, excuse me, because this plaque is in the way, right? And my computer's kind of freezing up a little bit. All right. If this plaque is in the way, it takes a hole this size and then makes it smaller. So you want to think of like a toll booth area. All the cars coming down the highway, now all of a sudden they have to go to 4 lanes of toll booth. It jams things up. It slows things down. It creates pressure, right? It creates pressure, but it does not allow the artery to move around as well. So it doesn't allow the artery to flex, and therein lies the problem. Let me go to the next slide here real quick. I don't want to go too far away here. But the thing is, before the clog here, before the plaque is, your artery's flexible. Where there's plaque, your artery's not flexible. So what can happen there is you can get perforations in your artery, and you can cause an aneurysm. And that means your blood leaks out, or it could burst, and that can lead to death. Or this plaque could break off, flow through the bloodstream. Now all of a sudden you have a blood clot. All right. Thrombus and embolism, those are both types of blood clots. One can travel until it finds a smaller artery and then block off blood flow completely, and one can just hang out like this and shut off blood flow over time. So, great question, Vashti. Can the plaque clear up if you exercise and take care of your body better? Yes. Like Diara mentioned, probably. So what can happen here is, even though all of us here seem to love pizza, especially the good pizza with pepperoni and grease and all that kind of fun stuff on it, you have to do it in moderation. Okay, if I've seen people, and my father was one that loves junk food, and it's probably it is where I get it from, but it's taken him a long time to learn moderation. Have you guys heard of moderation as far as nutrition goes? Okay. So moderation is key there. Moderation is where you're not going to eat junk food all the time. You can do it sparingly. I mean, like I still try to eat relatively healthy. Like most lunches during the day for me, when I go to the office, consist of some sort of like a spinach or a green of some kind, not iceberg lettuce. The big round ball of lettuce, not that stuff. It has no nutrients in it. It's basically just cellulose, which we can't digest, and water. But if you eat like spinach or a mixed green, stuff like that, kale, so I'll eat that stuff. I'll have a little bit of cheese on there just to give me a little bit of saturated fats there. A little bit of fat, you do need that. I'll throw carrots in, tuna in, no dressing, and I eat that. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Let me tell you, I can't wait to eat my lunch when others around me are eating McDonald's fries. So, yeah, seriously. So it's one of those things where you really got to watch what you're doing. Oatmeal and things like that are really good to eat, which we'll get into this stuff later. But just know that exercise keeps everything healthy, keeps everything flowing. But you can't just exercise and then eat like garbage. It's not going to work out well. Okay, that creates a problem there because you're still adding to this arterial buildup here. It's just that you're exercising to try to compensate for it, when really you need to exercise and eat healthy, but throw in a little bit of moderation when you can. That's what it comes down to, really. So keep this picture in mind. Remember, those clogged arteries. We'll be back. So right now, let me move my chat box over again to this side. Put it right there. And let's go to the next slide. Okay, I drew this, so I know it looks like a kindergartner drew and wrote on this thing. It was me, I'll admit to it. But it kind of gives you a good cross-section of the heart, and it's something that I've carried with me for, like 7 years now, believe it or not. If you look at the top, it says head. Clearly, that's the top, right? The bottom, toes, so clearly, that's the bottom. If you remember back from where the heart has that little point that's kind of angled off to the right-hand side, or to the left-hand side, sorry, that's the point. That's the bottom of this heart right here. All right, so a cross-section is just the heart kind of vertically sliced in half. Since you guys don't want to see that for real, here's my wonderful drawing. So blood comes in through the inferior vena cava here, goes behind the heart. Superior vena cava here comes in from the top, and it all collects in the right atrium. That's stop number 1. Stop number 2, as it goes through my mouse keeps hanging up here, sorry guys. As it goes through the tricuspid valve here, it gets into your right ventricle. All right. Now this is a bit more powerful. Excuse me. All the orange stuff around here is muscle. This is called the ventricular septum. Not important. I'm just throwing big words out because I can. All right. But ventricular septum here. All right. And this is a big muscle, and it helps separate both ventricles. Important in just a second. So as blood comes into the right ventricle, it's getting ready to go somewhere. This is your main contractile unit or area of the heart, or one of them. And as it leaves here, it flows out through here, out through your pulmonary arteries, goes to your right lung and your left lung. Once it goes over there, it takes that deoxygenated blood, or blood that lacks oxygen, and it goes out to the lungs to get oxygen, and then it comes back through the pulmonary veins. All right? Comes back through the pulmonary veins into the left atrium. So now it's like, okay, we're good. We got our oxygen. We're ready to rock. Through the mitral valve it goes right here into your left ventricle. Here's where all that muscle comes into play. This side of your heart looks a little bit stronger. It looks bigger. And the reason is because it's got more muscle all around it, right? And it needs more muscle because it has to push the blood, one quick, hard push, contraction, through the aortic valve, out through the aorta, through the brachial arteries, and through the carotid artery, and then down to the body. So basically, it's trying to push blood in one shot to your toes from your chest. Now you have pulses throughout your body which basically help do the same thing. That's why you have a pulse in your wrist, why you have a pulse in your neck. It basically takes that blood and keeps the pressure up so it can get to the necessary places it has to get. All right, to the farthest reaches of man and womankind. All right, or your toes and fingers and your head. So there's kind of what the inside of the heart looks like. Again, amateur drawing, but that's okay. We're fine with that. All right. Whoops, went backwards. I don't know my right from my left. This guy's really cool. It's 9:30. You can watch this if you want to. If not, I can send it to you. But this guy's fantastic. He does all kinds of different videos. Let me get back over here. Hang on a second here. Where's it at? There we go. All right, so he does all kinds of different videos. What do you think? Do you want to watch this guy? He's going to talk about the heart and kind of go over a little bit more than what I've gone over so far. Or do you just want to keep rolling on and try to wrap this thing up in the next 15 or so minutes? It's up to you. Diarrhea, you mean like skip this dude? Okay, I thought so. Yeah, we'll skip it. All right. I can send it to you if you want. If you do want this slide, feel free to email me. I'll send it to you. Not a big deal. This guy, why is he making that face? Doesn't that look weird? Like, stop. Is he gonna cry? It's just funny how it stopped. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, if you do want this, let me know. I can send it to you. He's awesome. He does some really good videos that go over all kinds of things, and diseases, infections, body systems, etc. So he's pretty awesome. We'll skip it. Check your knowledge. Okay, so let me get over to, let me end that. Okay, I'm going to give you this link. There's that link. If you guys click on that, you're going to be asked to enter in a code. Enter in that code for the questions that I'm asking you, and we're going to go over there, and we'll see what the I'll get there. We'll see what your responses are. There we go. So now we can see, share my screen again. Wait. Hang on. Okay, we're still sharing my screen, sorry. So where does the heart sit in the chest? Left side. Anybody having issues getting over to this thing? Alright, there we go. Now we got some people coming in. Good stuff. And if you can't access it, that's okay too. So there was a couple questions there that you'd have to go through. And if you get anything wrong, don't worry, I'm not holding it against you. We'll hang out here for just a few seconds here and go from there. 4,200 beats per hour. Good answer. I like how I show you what the correct answer is, coronary artery, for this one. It's good, right? Let me go over here. It's okay, we're not looking for winners. Nope, didn't want to do that. Let me go back. There we go. Cool beans. Alright, you guys are doing a good job so far. Try answering that third question there. Let's see how that comes through. I'm gonna click to a few other things here just to see what's going on there, and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm just looking around to see what new things they have in here. Alright, so we got 4,200 beats per hour, which is good. That's the correct answer. Sits on the left side of the heart, kind of, mostly just because of the slant or the angle. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on because we are kind of getting long in time here as well. Alright, let me get rid of this guy there. That's fine. Don't worry about it, Vashti. It was just one of those things to kind of check your knowledge. We're kind of doing that as we go anyway, with just, you know, as we're just having conversation here. So it's fine. Those were one of the things that I kind of made basically for, you know, definitely for if people came in. I wanted to see it work. I wanted to see if you guys had any issues using it because it's a really good tool to use. You know, but the fact that we're kind of going through over and over, or kind of going back and forth here through the virtual office chat tab here is really more than enough. It's fine. All right. Thanks for letting me know, though. I appreciate that. So let's go back over to here and let's keep playing here. So the heart has a ton of information here, right? It's got all this anatomy to it, and it can get, honestly, if you really kind of sit back and look at this thing, it can get a little confusing. This doesn't even begin to cover the surface of what the anatomy really looks like here. You have sinoatrial nodes which connect in right here, which is like an electrical system, and that sends your electrical charge to the atria, to the valves. Then you have a ventricular node that sits down here, and that basically controls the ventricles for contracting. You have these cords of tendonae here, which help to pull the valves open. So these things here kind of like contract and pull. And so you've got all kinds of things, honestly. It gets to be pretty involved when you really start to break down the science and the anatomy behind it all. Vashti, I see you typing. I'll just kind of hang out for just a second. It's an awesome question. And I love that, like, you know, when we're doing these kinds of things, it kind of takes turns like this, which is really good because it's heartburn is one of those things that people think that they're having a heart attack. People think that it is their heart. Here's the deal. It's not your heart. It's actually acid from your stomach that comes up in through your, why can't I think? Esophagus. I almost go on trachea, but that's for air. Comes up into your esophagus. So you have these small circular muscles at the top of your stomach, and at the bottom of your stomach, really. And what happens is sometimes they're either not functioning properly, or there's too much pressure in there. So the gases, or not the gases, the acids in your stomach need to get out, right? And sometimes the way to do that is to go up. So what happens is that acid comes out of your stomach, comes through that circular muscle, and gets into your esophagus there, and it creates this burning sensation, sometimes pretty painful. When I eat that whole pizza, that whole large pizza myself, it can happen. And you feel this burning sensation, and it's kind of centralized in your chest. So it was always associated with heartburn because it's near your heart. But in reality, it's kind of stomach acid getting into your esophagus. Um, it can happen while you're sitting up. Do you know how to prevent it from happening, or to how to, if it does happen, how to kind of lessen the effects of heartburn? Anybody? Do you know how to lessen the effects of heartburn? Like once you're experiencing it. All right, we'll go ahead and answer the question then. So, the way that the stomach is shaped is like a kidney bean, okay? And your esophagus comes in on the right side of the kidney bean. So if you lay on the left side, that kind of puts the curve of that kidney bean lower than your esophagus. So that helps because the acids can't reach the esophagus to come out that circular muscle. So that's kind of how you can help to lessen the effects. Will it stop it? Not always, but it definitely can help to decrease that. Some other things that can cause it is like if you one, eating a lot, eating too much, but two, eating or consuming a lot of acidy type things like drinking too much coffee or too much orange juice, things like that. That can also kind of help spike some heartburn there too. Good question, Vashi. Did that help answer it? Awesome. You're welcome. And whoops, over here. There we go. All right. So, my friend Sheldon there. Do you still remember this slide? I hope so. All right, so you have the arteries here. Remember, we have a clear artery here, and then we have more of a clogged artery here. And I'm bringing this up not to make you panic or to worry or anything like that, but just for information. All right, you guys are young. Chances of anything like this happening now is slim to none. But it's something to start to build in good habits now as you go. I in college, my goodness, I ate terribly. And even though I worked out all the time, I worked in construction in the summers. So like I was physically active all the time, 7 days a week. Um, and I tried to eat decent for the most part, but when there was junk food like wings, how many of you guys like wings? Yeah. See, we're all on the same page here, which is good. But we used to get wings every so often, and I would order 40 and just get after it. It was a mess, but I didn't care, and I ate every single one of them, and again hit the cupboards afterwards. So it's just, I mean, it's one of those things where I was raised on junk food kind of thing. So, it is what it is. But we need to understand what's going on now, so that way we can prevent things down the road in the future, especially as we get far down the road into our later adult years. It's important to have good health habits now to prevent things down the road. So that's a good question too. Like I try to, as far as cheat days, I don't really have a cheat day, but there might be like like a Saturday, especially if I'm really busy. Like I'm trying to work on my house too and I'm more or less remodeling my house myself. It's very slowly. I'm basically just fixing issues now. But if I'm super busy, the easiest thing is pizza. So that's one of those things where like I don't feel as guilty, I guess you could say, if I have a pizza on a Saturday. Or like, if grocery shopping happens Sunday morning, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm just exhausted, don't feel like doing anything, don't really care right now. Let's have donuts. Donuts are fantastic. Let's just eat them, right? So, you just have to monitor it really. So you have to make sure that you're not doing this every day, every other day kind of thing. You have to limit how much you're consuming that kind of stuff. That's that said, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy what you eat, because even though I try to keep a mental note of what I'm eating, I still want to make sure that I'm enjoying what I'm having. It's got to have some flavor to it. I can't just eat lettuce all day every day. I'm not a rabbit. and I'm not a vegetarian either. So there's that. And vegetarian, I mean, I've had some amazing vegetarian meals. Have you guys had vegetarian meals, or is anyone a vegetarian? No, 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 nope. Yeah, so like I know quite a few, and I mean some things look really good, and I could totally do that. And like I said, we make salad a lot here at home, um, and I have no issues with it. I just don't think I could do it every day. It's just not. I'm in such a habit or a routine of, kind of spreading things out a little bit as far as my diversity goes, that I don't think I could just be contained to that kind of diet. It would be a learning process for sure. Tofu, had it once, didn't like it, but I don't think I had it well. Like it wasn't done well. Um, I've seen it where it looks awesome, but I've just never had it. How about Brussels sprouts? Anybody like Brussels sprouts? Diarrhea, you're funny. Yeah, I've never had those either, but they were made around me one time, and I was at my father's house, so my stepmother was making them one time, and the smell. I think she just boiled them. I can't remember. I mean, I've seen them roasted and they look delicious, but man, I can't get that smell out of my nose, and that was like 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. So, I mean, I don't know what to think about it. So here's what we go. Back to Vashti's question, how can you have cheat days? The one thing you want to make sure of is if you're vegan, that's great. Any type of vegan, that's great. Whether you eat meat, that's great too. What you need to be concerned about overall is what you're consuming. Okay, uh, you have to make sure you're getting all the essential nutrients. You need protein. You do need some sugars. Your body will burn sugar first, glucose first. Okay, then it'll go after proteins and fats, things like that. So if you're consuming like a full soda, a 20-ounce soda, I wish I had one in front of me, but I think it's like 56 grams of sugar in a 20-ounce soda, or I'm sorry, not a 20-ounce, in a 12-ounce can of soda. They actually went 20 ounces, I think, is now considered two servings. Um, but it's like 56 grams in, let's say, a Coca Cola. If you get with like a Mountain Dew, it's even more sugar in that little can. That's a lot of sugar. Um, your body's going to burn some of it, not all of it. What happens to the rest of it? It gets stored in your body as triglycerides. That's fat, basically, is what it comes down to. So it converts it to fat, which is a bad thing, obviously. You start eating foods like you can see here in the stomach, and here's that kidney shape I was talking about with the stomach, right? This is your esophagus that comes down in here, right? And then you have this big bump right here. I want to say, what is that called? Goodness, jejunum? I think I might be wrong there. I think that's part of the intestine. Regardless, you have this big space up here, right? And this is typically has air pocket in it. So if you lay on your left side, which would be this side, the fluids fall down in here below your esophageal opening, below that muscle, and that keeps your heartburn at bay, or helps to lessen it anyway, which is good to know if you have heartburn. So back to this. If you eat foods like this all the time, you're going to feel satisfied initially. That saturated fat, that gives you a good feeling of satiation or being satisfied, but you're going to end up feeling tired. Your body's trying to burn all that stuff. It's not good energy producing food. It's going to make you feel tired, going to make you feel sluggish, kind of just blah overall. Um, the things with those foods is it's high triglycerides. That's that sugar turning into fat that I mentioned. That stores on your body as fat. High saturated fat, same thing. High trans fat, same thing. All of this stuff increases your fat storage, and then the bad part is, along with fat storage, is plaque builds in arteries. This kind of diet can also lead to diabetes and a bunch of other health complications too. So it's even though it tastes good, there's a lot of negative effects if you eat this stuff continually. Okay. Again, I'm not saying that if you do this once a week, twice a week, I don't know, 3 times a week, that's every other day, it's going to cause these things, but it's something that we have to think about and be cautious of, or conscious of, really. All right, into the stomach we go. So again, those things cause plaque buildup in the arteries. All right, it makes us feel sluggish. and it can over here create coronary artery disease because that plaque builds up in those coronary arteries, and it can cause a heart attack, it can cause an aneurysm, things like that, basically to where the heart is not receiving blood, oxygen, and nutrients because it's been cut off from supply, or because now you're leaking out into your body. You have an internal bleed at that point. My stepmother's father passed away from an aneurysm. He had been bleeding internally slightly. He had a perforated artery here for a while, and they just thought he was gaining weight, and that wasn't the case. So it can be catastrophic. So that's an extreme case, but still, it's something that we need to pay attention to, and just basically just know what's happening inside our body and as we consume various foods. All right, I say all this. There's no need to panic. I mentioned that already. You just got to pay attention to what you're doing. Taking steps to ensure a healthy heart, but how? All right. So you need to climb the stairs. You need to climb the stairs of knowledge. You kind of have a little bit of an understanding of what happens with what we consume and how our heart works. You want to make sure that you're exercising for sure. People say, I don't have a gym membership. I can't go to a park. I don't care. You got a body. Can you move? Right? So what do you have in your homes? Where you live, what do you have that you think you could exercise with? Dumbbells? Oh, nice. Cool. You have weights. All right, awesome. So dumbbells and weights, his means typing. Yoga helps, yeah, absolutely. And yoga is a perfect example. Everything is a perfect example. You have dumbbells, weights, doesn't matter the amount. The fact that you have something is good. Those things can be expensive, so not everybody has them. Running is fantastic. Can be hard on your joints, your knees, your hips, your back, things like that. But still, it's a great way to be out there and get active and really spike your heart rate. Yoga is something that's overlooked. I haven't done yoga in the past. I was more of a strength training guy. I got kicked out of the gym because my muscles were too big. Not true at all. But so like yoga was always one of those things that was always overlooked by a lot of people down on the free weight floor or the fitness floor. But the fact that you're trying to hold a body position for an extended period of time burns a ton of calories and creates a strong muscle burn too. So it's one of those things where it's like that's, and there's various forms of yoga too. So there's a lot of health attributes or health benefits from doing yoga as well. You only need a space as big as you need to lie down in. So as long as you can do push-ups, sit-ups, standing squats, some lunges, lateral lunges, meaning lunges to the side kind of thing, you're taking all the steps you need to try to improve your physical health, and that's important, okay? So those are some good things to understand there, that you don't need a ton of things, all right? We talked about healthy heart, all right? Time is getting long here. I'm sorry, guys. We'll finish up here real quick. What you need to think about when you're trying to make your food choices, okay? And I still think about this, and I'll be 40 soon. I still think about this. Should I eat a donut or should I have oatmeal that looks like this? Listen, every time I'm gonna go to donut, all right? At least in my head, and 50% with my mouth. I'm gonna eat the donut, okay? I'm just gonna be honest with myself. It's how it's gonna work. Do I try to eat oatmeal or something healthy? Yeah, absolutely. All right, because I know the effects of what's happening when I would consume this. Okay, so you need to try to make better choices. You think this or that, and what's the consequences of both, or the benefits of both? All right. The one thing I've noticed too is if you eat oatmeal and you throw some like peanut butter in it, it gives you protein too. So not only are oats good for your arteries and your bloodstream, the protein's going to give you protein. The peanut butter is going to give you protein, which actually takes longer to digest and makes you feel fuller longer. So if I eat this, I can feel full a little bit longer than this. If I eat this thing, 1 hour goes by and I'm starving again. Forget about it, right? Peanut butter and jelly is good. Try to watch how much jelly you have. Jelly has a lot of sugar in it, okay? That's the bad part there. Plus, you're having it on bread. Bread is can be an empty calorie depending on the type you have. If you like white bread, it's nothing but empty calories. It's a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs there. So those things you have to watch out for. I love peanut butter and jelly, and it's been my staple for years. My go-to choice of sandwich. And plus, it's easy, it's cheap. So you just got to make sure you're getting like good peanut butter, like an all natural peanut butter, and you're kind of increasing your chances of improved health there compared to like a Skippy or a standard Jif, things like that. Like we do Jif, but it's an all natural Jif, so it has it's more about like just crushed peanuts than anything that's not natural kind of thing. So we've done other natural peanut butters, and whew, man, I'd rather eat sand. Honestly, it's rough. So there's those things. Um, so when you're thinking of these things, these food choices, pair it up like we talked about with some activity, whether it's riding a bike, running, like we mentioned, yoga. Um, make sure you're eating a balanced diet. You want to make sure that you're not consuming all protein because that's bad for you and that can give you other complications. You want to make sure you're not eating all vegetables. I mean, you can, but you still need protein. Like if you're a vegetarian, you're going to eat different types of beans. They're going to give you protein. So that way it's still a well-balanced diet, right? People look down on veganism, and then I don't. I mean, there's ways to get around it. There's other things that you can eat. Physical fitness, lifting weights, doing yoga, those kinds of things, that's good for your overall structure. That's important. Your muscles basically create bone density. Use your muscles, increase your bone density or your bone strength, and you're good to go there, okay? Oops, there we go. All right. So, again, we went over how the heart works, anatomy, function, staying healthy. So we went through all that kind of stuff today. I think we went over some things, and I think the interaction between us was pretty good as far as the questions and things like that, and trying to understand more about that. He was more about learning the heart and stuff. Because of time, we've been in here for a long time now. We're gonna go ahead and skip this. Um, this has been really good. I do appreciate you guys coming in, and hang on a second. Stop sharing. Where are we at? I know what I'm doing. Honest. Just might not seem like it. So there we go. So again, you guys have been awesome. Thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate it. If you do have any other questions, whether you're learning this in your courses or not, or even if you don't have me, you reach out. Students don't know about this. Adults don't know about this. I was a strength coach for 5 years, 6 years, including personal training, and people just don't have an understanding of it. They just don't get it. So feel free to reach out. Don't feel like you shouldn't do that, even if it's about exercise or a how-to. Okay. All right, sounds good. Again, thanks for stopping by. Listen, people, stay healthy. Do the best you can. Follow the guidelines. Wash your hands. Use sanitizer. Watch where you're going. Try to do some distancing out there. Let's hopefully this thing can stop spreading soon, and we can get back to normal life. All right. I hope you all stay well, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon. You are most welcome. I'm trying. You too. Thanks, everybody. See ya.